Hello everybody. Getting started here. It's kind of a more complicated setup than I normally have, so sorry I'm a couple minutes late. This broadcast originally appeared in the Self-Sewn Wardrobe Facebook group. So if you want to watch live videos and get special coupon codes, go to facebook.com/groups/self-sewn wardrobe. And I just got a question on Instagram from someone asking whether or not we would be putting these videos on YouTube, and we will be doing so hopefully in the next couple weeks. We'll have everything all set up to put these videos on YouTube, and then also the audio as a podcast on iTunes. So hello Marissa and Margaret and Jennifer and Sophie and Fred and Eric and Sarah. Everybody's joining in. And like I said, sorry I'm a couple minutes late, but I've got everything set up here to talk about different motors on different sewing machines. And I did a little dry run here before I started the camera, and both of these machines are Baby Locks that we sell, and they're actually both pretty darn nice machines, but we're going to be talking about the differences, and I hope that through Facebook Live and then hopefully through the audio and the podcast and the YouTube video, you will be able to kind of just hear the differences, or at least hear how this machine might sound different from your machine at home if you have a machine that doesn't have a DC motor. And then I also want to preface this with, I'm giving this information out. I know that everyone has different sewing preferences and different budgets and different, different sewing plans. So I definitely am not saying that you must have a certain machine to be successful or anything like that, but I do know from working and running the sewing store that sometimes people expect a little too much out of a certain kind of caliber of sewing machine. So before I get started, I'll say hello to Cassie and Summer and Sharice and Tracy and Julian and everyone else who has joined in. Okay, so this is the Baby Lock Molly. I have the Baby Lock Molly. She's on my left, and then I have the Baby Lock Sophia, and she's on my right. And they're both part of Baby Lock's kind of entry-level machines. They're in the A line, and they're all named after girls, which is, kind of cute, I guess. Anyway, we have these two girls with us here today. Molly is a mechanical machine, and she is kind of like second up from the bottom. There's one machine below Molly called Anna. And then Sophia is kind of a special machine in the A line because she's the only one that does embroidery. And she is, so she does embroidery, and that's all well and good, but she is the start of these DC motors in the Baby Lock line. So when I say AC, I mean alternating current, and DC, I mean direct current. And the alternating current motors are not as strong. And it doesn't always mean that you're trying to sew on, something that's really tough, and so that you need a DC motor or something like that. But a DC motor, I hope to demonstrate to you with the sound and with the performance of the machine, how it can be different. So I've got two squares of canvas here that I'm folding in half, and I'm putting them in front of the machines. I'm sewing backwards again today, and I have the foot controls for these machines sitting behind the machines here on the table with me, so I'm not making them sew by magic or anything like that, but let me sort of keep these straight. Okay, so first let's talk about the Molly. And the Molly, Baby Lock actually advertises these prices for these machines nationally, so at least for this month of November 2016, I can talk about how much they cost. This is the Molly, and they advertise it for $2.99. So that's similar in price to what a lot of people who are, kind of starting out, or even people who are looking into getting like a sewing machine of their own and maybe moving up from like one that was gifted from them or something like that, in your research, maybe you're looking up something of this price, and the Molly is actually a pretty darn nice machine, even though it does have an AC motor. So let me sew on the Molly a little bit and then get to talking about it. I already have these two machines threaded. We've got videos about threading machines on the YouTube channel, so I'm not doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing on it back here. And I think what was important, and I'm going to lean the microphone toward this machine, and I hope that you all can hear it on Facebook. Do you hear this hesitation as the machine begins to start sewing? That is the motor revving up. And there's nothing like, quote unquote, wrong with that. But it is in stark contrast to the Sophia. And so next, I'm going to start sewing on the Sophia. It immediately began sewing. And I'm just going to put the microphone toward it a little bit just in case we can't hear it. So it immediately begins to sew. And this is one of the big differences, okay? So, I'm actually, I wish I had a not as nice machine as the Molly to show you this on, because I'll tell you, I'll be perfectly honest, during my dry run, I had another piece of canvas and I was sewing on it with the Sophia and the Molly, and I kept folding it up to get these, more thicknesses of canvas and everything. And Molly really did do a pretty darn good job. She hopped over it. Molly has an adjustable presser foot pressure that can help a machine with a weaker motor to go over thicker thicknesses. So the Molly was actually doing a pretty darn nice job on these, layers of canvas here. So, but I have taught people to sew on other brands of machines. And we used to teach a class monthly here called How to Use Your Sewing Machine. And I would have people bring machines in that were just, they felt like toys. They were, you can buy a sewing machine for like $45, I believe somewhere. And these machines, they didn't even have the hesitation of the Molly if once again, I'm going to sew on it. They, every single time, and you can hear this when I go slower on the Molly, so I'll hold up the foot control. So you hear it kind of go, I probably shouldn't have this piece of fabric on top of the machine while I sew, but you can hear it sort of go, whoa, 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 whoa. I've heard machines, just less expensive machines go, hum, 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 every time they try to make a stitch. And so it's very difficult for those people to then go ahead and maybe do heavier duty work, or even just to have a non-frustrating sewing experience. So that is, I bring up this difference between the two machines, and I'll just sew on Sophia again. I'll hold up the foot control so you can see what I'm doing. And this is Sophia's full speed. I believe that they say she maxes out at 650 stitches per minute. I don't know what the Molly does. I would imagine it's a little lower than that. But so Sophia, being at the bottom of their direct current motor sort of offerings, is 650 stitches per minute, and something like the Jane or the big Destiny, Gigantor machine, they'll say that they can go 1,500 stitches per minute. So, and sometimes that's for embroidery or it's for sewing. It depends on the machine, but going fast isn't always what we want to do, but we do want to be able to handle the thicknesses. And Noah, I'm just going to bring up your machine story again. Noah has a Brother Project runway machine, and that machine is, once again, kind of an entry-level machine, and I've seen them here in the store before, and they are a machine that'll go hum, 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 and they just aren't quite as reliable when we start to get into more complex sewing projects. And they, a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times a DC motor, on a machine, when you're looking at the line, will also line up with the machine being electronic or computerized. And so if we talk about that for a second, A lot of people see the screen on a sewing machine and maybe they get turned off, or they don't like that, or they think they don't need that, or why would I need all those stitches, or da 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 da, everything like that. The Sophia offers a lot of fail safes that can make an inexperienced seamstress or stitcher not mess up. It can make them look much more professional. You're going to get a nicer, straighter stitch. And Noah had a traumatic event on his sewing machine. And after that event, the machine wasn't sewing very well. It didn't sound good. When you try to have a traumatic event on the Sophia, if you accidentally try and stitch over like a metal zipper pull, or just like you're trying to stitch with a dull needle, and the machine senses that it's not going to be able to push through the fabric, it will stop, and the Sophia will go beep, 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 and it'll say safety device activated. So, whereas on a mechanical machine, if you try to go through something that it's not happy with, it's just going to try its darndest to move, the needle with the motor. You will see the hand wheel try and move, and it can jam, and that can get the machine out of time. And when the machine's out of time after that, it doesn't sew correctly. It may not form a stitch. And Noah said in the Facebook post, and actually I'm just going to see if I can sort of find our exchange, because I thought it was pretty funny and telling. He was discussing the price of his machine, the quality of it, how much it would take to get it serviced, etc. And we were talking about the trade-offs with that. And I have to search for this, but it was pretty funny. So like I said, I think that Noah's machine maybe cost $200 or under. I'm not quite sure, but Noah had originally posted a kind of an urgent call for help, and said, help, I have this problem. And it turns out Noah was only sewing over 2 layers of linen, so nothing too incredibly heavy. But I brought up the fact that, and Noah was also using old thread, so he got rid of that, and we talked about that. But Noah said, thank you, I'm happy for your input. I was just sewing 2 layers of linen together. But I've learned my lesson about old thread. And then he said, since it's a relatively cheap machine, it's not going to be worth it to me to get it checked out or repaired if it continues to have problems. That's okay though, because I drank the Baby Lock Kool-Aid and will be in the market for a Sophia, in the future. And so I said, and then he also said, I also plan on taking the vacuum hose to it later today, which is how we recommend you clean your machines. And I said to Noah, that's really, I think, a practical outlook about this machine and its sort of like caliber. We charge $75 or $85 for a basic machine service to take the whole machine apart, clean it, get it back in time. We call that our basic service, and it normally takes care of lots of sewing problems. But if that's $75 or $85, how many times do you really want to do that on a machine that maybe costs $100 or $200? And so if you kind of have that outlook about the value of your sewing machine, it might be worth it to you to like wait, save, consider, getting one that's a little higher quality. We've sold so many of these Sophias, it's almost like we have a representative sample of people who sew different things, people who sew just purses, people who sew quilts, people who sew garments, people who bought it just for the embroidery part. And I don't want to, we do sell the Baby Locks here, and that's fabulous, but, they don't pay me to talk about their machines. I don't get any credit when you go and buy from your local dealer, even though you can tell them that I sent you. But any brand, go in and ask them, say, I want this machine to have a DC motor. I want it to sound like this and not like this. Okay? So that is where I'm coming from with this video. That's like truly where my heart is. It's not me trying to like sell everybody Baby Lock machine or anything like that, but I wish to justify our what do I want to say, our position on the DC motors, and why they are so important. And so not only do they handle the thicknesses and everything like that, they're just more reliable. And when you get into a computerized or electronic machine, has anybody ever started sewing and their thread comes out of their needle and you're like, oh crap, now I have to rethread my needle? And I think maybe even Noah brought this up when he was talking about his machine, and sort of like, I mean, sometimes when you get in there and you're trying to clean out a bird's nest or a mistake or something like that, you no longer have a tail coming out the bottom of the machine. You have to pull it backwards, which isn't ideal. The reason that happens on a mechanical machine, so if you have a mechanical machine at home, pay attention, is that you pulled the fabric out from underneath the presser foot and the stitch wasn't finished forming. So if you have a mechanical machine, make sure that when you want to pull the fabric out from underneath the presser foot, that you get the take-up lever, which also means the needle will be in the highest position, okay? And what that means is then when you start sewing again, the take-up lever just has to go down. It doesn't have to go up again. And so if you stopped and the needle was in the position where it wasn't completely finished with the stitch, next time you begin to sew, the take-up lever is going to take up that thread and it's going to pull it out of your needle. Whereas, if you have a machine like the Sophia or any other computerized machine that has this button, this needle up-down button, it can do what I call half a stitch and bring that needle up into the highest position. Now, the Sophia also has a thread cutter, so that's nice. So I can push that, and it'll actually cut the thread for me. There are machines with that, but there is a machine down the line in between these two. I think I said that the Molly is $2.99. There's a machine called the Rachel, and I think they advertise it for $3.99 or $4.99 or something like that. So in our store, what we generally end up selling to people is either actually the machine below the Molly, the Anna, for $1.99, or people end up jumping up to the Sophia for $5.99. So it's either like, you know, I only have $200 to spend and I want a machine right now, I'm getting the Anna. But if somebody says, oh, I'm kind of in that $400 range, a lot of times after they see the features on the Sophia, they make the decision, you know, I'm going to go that extra mile, you know, either ask, you know, for Christmas present money or just, you know, find it or you know, however that happens, and they go for the Sophia. The Molly actually isn't a super popular machine, and I just think it's because people sort of end up going, you know, almost to one end or the other of the spectrum. And also, since the Sophia has the embroidery, that ends up making it pretty darn attractive to people. Julian says, I'm thinking I'm almost ready to try a new machine again after a big box store machine. And Bethany asks, do you only sell Baby Lock? So yes, here in our store, we only carry the Baby Lock line at the moment. And Julian, I think this is so important. If you are going to, you know, wherever, you know, Joann's, Walmart, I don't know if Hobby Lobby sells sewing machines, but I've gone there and I've looked at the prices, and I think these machines don't come with classes. They don't come with any kind of, I mean, I guess they come with a warranty, but no like in-house service or anything like that. And I just look at it and I thought, even if our machines were a little more expensive, I think it'd be worth it. But then I saw one in there, you know, for like $7.99, and I thought, you can get the same thing at our store, you know, for $5.99, and you get the warranty and the classes and all of that. Plus, if you call and you say, I'm having an issue, we can help you out. And local sewing machine stores, that this business model, okay, of not being able to sell machines online, it's an old business model. It is, you know, maybe to some people, they feel that it's actually an outdated business model. And I think that the support of the dealer is so important, but that oftentimes people don't give that enough value. So please do consider, you know, supporting your local dealer in some ways. Go there, you know, ask them about a machine. you know, we do have this online community that, you know, reaches far and wide. We've got the ability to do that. But you might need support on your machine, and your dealer should be giving you that. And like I said, you know, this demonstration here wasn't necessarily supposed to be just all about baby locks, but it was supposed to be able to give you just an ear for the AC versus the DC motors. And so you can go out and make an informed decision about sewing machines as you go and shop wherever you're going to shop. And you know, or if you're looking for a used machine or something like that, you know, you can kind of get the scoop. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and post them, and I'll go back and look at any comments that I might have missed. But Julian says, my last new machine was like $150 and I only use it to wind bobbins. And I think someone else mentioned that they keep like buying these new cheaper machines, but then they like break and they don't want to get them fixed, and you know, they just have all these machines laying around the house, they don't know what to do with them. And I thought that that was kind of funny, because they're like, how do I get rid of them? And I'm like, I don't really know. You might be able to sell it like on Craigslist or something like that. Cherie says, the local sewing gurus in Portland sell many brands and levels of machine. They also tell you upon purchase that if you went to upgrade within a year, they will give you a buyback deal on the machine you've purchased. So yeah, there's something, you know, every store has a different policy of, you know, trading up or upgrading or da-da-da-da, but it's certainly something you won't see at a big box store. You won't see anything like that. And Portland and the greater Northwest or Pacific Northwest area is, there's some pretty big time dealers around there for sure. Let me read Sarah's comment here. I'm gonna have to view it because it's a little long, but I think this is kind of important what she's got going on here. She said, sadly, my closest dealer is not ideal. I went in once and it was very dark and they almost had more vacuums than sewing machines. My next closest is a sewing fabric shop almost an hour away. I'm going to try and make the trip, hopefully without 4 kids, very soon. Yeah, I know that not every store is ideal. And you know, I've had people come in here and get really angry that we don't have something that they want. And I know from hearing from other people that other people, you know, other customers have gone to other dealers and complained about us. You know, we all try and do our best for sure, but and this is why Baby Lock's probably not paying me to, you know, promote their products. But I really think it, in my opinion, it comes down to a dealer a lot of the times. If you, and I know this has happened with me. I know people have said, I want this feature on this other brand of machine. I'll say, oh, well, you know, Baby Lock doesn't have that. And I'll say, you know, we've got this and this, and talk to them about machines. And then I will say, you know, go do your research. And they'll come back and say, I want to buy from you. I can tell you're going to help me. So I know that that happens for sure. So I sympathize with you, Sarah. I know that not everybody is perfect. I do think a local dealer is helpful, but some people live so far away from anybody that it might not be helpful. So you can, you know, you can come to Columbia, Missouri and buy a machine from us, and we'll spend, you know, hours with you and try to get you a good foundation if you do if you do decide to buy. So we hope to try and be supportive. And with the internet, it is getting a lot easier to get support and get help troubleshooting on machines. So I am very grateful for that with the internet. Part of this, you know, online commerce makes some brick and mortar retailers very nervous, and they feel like business is being kind of like taken away from them. But I think that we can all try and use it to our advantage. Lauren says, sometimes if you aren't near a dealer, sometimes you can find things on sewing Yahoo groups or Craigslist. Mom buys some of her machines that way. So yeah, you know, buying a pre-loved or a used machine it's something that I generally would sort of discourage. And of course I would, I'm a sewing machine dealer, but you can you run some risk, of course, doing that. But you know, of course, people have bought used machines and are happy with them. And I never treat anybody who comes in here with a, machine that they bought from an individual like a second-class citizen or anything like that, certainly. But, do be careful, talk to the person and, they, just use your best judgment with that. Marty says, which I will read her comment here. Oh, Glenda says, our local shop is like your shop. The support there is classes, etc. I appreciate anytime I go to the store and they answer my questions, so that is good. Oh, Marty says, I love my dealer, but they are not an apparel sewing store. They're a quilt shop, so at first I didn't even think to shop there. I thought they only carried quilting / embroidery machines. So once I got the courage to go and ask, they were able to set me up with a great machine and a 2-hour class on how to use it. Yeah, so, different shops decide to focus on different aspects of sewing. And I think, sometimes things happen the other way around here, Marty. People will come in and say, oh, you don't sell quilting fabric, you're not a quilt store, I want a quilt on my machine. And I'm like, well, we sell the whole line of Baby Lock machines and you will be able to quilt. And that's where I've gotten a few of those customers that say, I'm going to buy from you, you are supportive. And so I do appreciate that. But yeah, if you're looking for a machine, look for a machine dealer. And then, go in their store, and all machines are gonna, do what you want them to do. The only machine that is like so specific to quilting, what I would say is like a long arm quilter, like that machine is very much meant for that. But like, the Sophia can piece together a quilt. We actually have a lot of people come to our free motion quilting classes on the Sophia, so that's always a joy too. I love that people come in and do that. But keep that in mind. Yeah, find a machine dealer, and then don't worry about the samples on their walls, necessarily. Worry about their support and how knowledgeable they are. And you hopefully will be able to find somebody who can kind of hash out the different features of the machines and find something that you like. So I think I'm going to end this there, but I'd love to continue this conversation, or if anybody has any more questions about the AC versus the DC motors, just hearing that sound. If you are ever shopping for a new machine, or if this is something that's important to you as you go forward, please listen to the machine and think about how long that machine's going to last you. Love the Molly. I think Baby Lock's entry-level machines are actually pretty darn nice. But this is not a machine I would sell to someone and say, you'll probably be sewing on this 10 years later, no problem. Now, it could happen. I've seen it happen. But like with the Sophia, I could say for sure, you will be sewing on this machine 10 years from now. I say to people, like, this machine's going to last maybe almost the rest of your life, So anyway, let me know if you have any more questions, and thank you so much for watching, and have a great day, everybody.